Tony DeFrank back with the May edition of Covering Classic Cars up in Hayward, California with Bill and Joe from South City Rod and Custom. So thanks for letting me interrupt your Monday coming up here to shoot our catalog. But let's talk a little bit about the cars and we'll talk about the shop. So the Charger, you know, I think you debuted it at Grand National?
Yep.
All right, so it's an incredible build and it's going to be going around all year, going out for awards. What inspired the build or the customer's requests, or how did it end up like this beautiful car?
Yeah, well, so Ron Michaels came to us. He already has a 1970 Dodge Dart, so a very nice build. Been to the Good Guys shows and you know, publications here and there, and so he's obviously a Mopar nerd already. But he just brought the Charger idea to us and kind of said he wanted to even go a step further than he went with the Dart. I think it would probably be 3 or 4 steps further. Well, as all these projects go, it snowballed a little bit, but yeah, you know, so we started off with the Roadster Shop chassis and the 392 6.4 Hemi, which he also has in his Dart, and he really likes the power and and we wanted to put a Mopar in the Mopar. So yeah, we obviously just built as nice of a car as we could, and hopefully it does well this year.
And was there certainly any inspiration behind it? And like pop the hood, look, I'm like a small block Chevy fan.
Yeah.
So I pop the hood, there's a lot going on under there. So
Yeah.
it's really dressed up, it's like really a lot of upgrades.
Well, the engine really is kind of out of the crate in terms of the internals and the horsepower and everything. In fact, he even wanted to use the variable intake runner that's stock to the Mopars, which they're not the best looking stock motor. So I just told him, hey, you know, we could dress this thing up by, you know, making a whole custom engine compartment and then fabricating the valve covers, you know, faux valve covers to sort of look like early Hemi style valve covers, and just give it a kind of OEM early feel to it, unlike what a lot of guys are doing these days, which is really making them look modern, pro touring. We wanted to keep it all looking kind of early and traditional, and that really was the goal with the whole car. He didn't want to modify the exterior too much in terms of visual modifications. He wanted it to look kind of like a stock-ish body.
I said yeah, stockish, but still the interior stockish, but yeah, nice upgraded fabrics, materials. The dash still is not.
He was adamant about leaving the original gas cap and the side marker lights.
Yep.
They're
We fought over the side marker lights.
68 Charger staples
Yeah.
that he wanted to leave on the car.
Identity marks of the Charger. The 68, the rear tail panel, is just one of the best looking especially of the Mopars, but maybe of all muscle cars. Iconic to the 68. The side markers are 68. You know, so there's little identifying factors that he wanted to keep on the car.
And the blue paint, that a custom mix or something like go off the shelf? You can go, I can go PPG or whoever, and I can grab that, or is it something you
The answer is it's always custom.
Okay.
No, it actually really it's a GM color, and with, you know, tweaked a little bit. Pete Santini did the body and paint on this car. The color is kind of a long story because we went through 3 different versions of the car.
Okay.
When he brought it to us, he actually had a pretty simple rendering, and it was maroon, you know, metallic maroon, and it looked beautiful. And as you know, this is 4-year project, maybe.
Project,
Yeah. So as time went on, we kept seeing muscle cars come out that were maroon, you know, candy red, in those sort of hues. And so midway through, I kind of started to say, hey, Ron, you know, maybe would you be open to a different color? Not because it wouldn't look good, but just because we didn't want to do another maroon muscle car. So then we went to gold. We wanted to keep it a factory inspired color. So we kind of looked at all the factory colors from Charger in 68, and they had a green, they had a gold, they had a maroon, they had a dark blue. And I threw all those colors out as starting points, and he kind of gravitated towards gold. And we actually mixed the paint. We're almost going to paint the car that color, and kind of decided that we just didn't like the color enough. It's a long story. We switched to blue.
We got plenty of time. We got plenty of time here.
Yeah.
We can squeeze it in. But,
Switch it
but, no,
over
but
to
people
blue.
want to know the questions like, these. Like, I'm a lowly car cover salesman, but you guys are building these cars, and there's like it seems like no build is over and done in a year. It's like 2, 3, 4 years that evolve, and then maybe trends or customers like decisions. And things change, and then you kind of have to adapt and go, okay, let's pivot and.
Well, this
but
was
then
our-
the finished product is beautiful, but there's a lot to get to that point, right?
Well, this is speaking of trend. Like this was our first like real full modern interior. You know, a lot of times we do, I mean, very traditional stuff, but this has tons of 3D printed and CAD modeled parts. The whole dashboard is CAD modeled and
Everything
3D printed.
is custom.
Every part of the interior, door panels, everything. Nothing is an original Charger piece anymore. Though still made to emulate and look like an original Charger piece. It's all just tweaked a little bit and then all custom made from scratch.
Yeah. Tavis Highlander?
Highlander, yeah.
He works with DJ Designs, who did the interior. So we utilized Tavis to sort of sketch out renderings of what the interior could look like. And my only, and Ron, both, our ultimatum was it just has to have a OEM vibe to it. We don't want something that looks like it was just completely made from scratch, modern, and it needed to jive with the exterior, the engine compartment. And Tavis threw out a bunch of options for us, and we kind of did an amalgam, I think, of a few of them. And then Danny, just the fabrics and leather that he chose, or showed us the options he gave us, work so perfectly in this thing. But we try to build very traditionally inspired cars. We want them to be classic, and timeless is the word we use all the time. Because if you're building a car that's built on contemporary trends, and it takes you 5 years to build the car, like you were saying, it might be out of date and a little old by the time you get it.
The goal is to not see the car back in 10 years and have to completely rebuild it.
Yeah,
again.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's beautiful, and it seems like I'm not sure when's the last time you guys did a 60s muscle car, because I feel like when we see you at shows, and then I think the last couple of years you guys have been coming out with some heavy hitter like hot rods, and like the truck of the year winner,
St. Christopher.
St. Christopher.
St. Christopher's Coupe Scarby,
Yeah.
and like it's like, and now you got here, you come in with 60s muscle cars, so just like evolution to what customers are asking for. Or?
Yeah, well, so these two cars are a perfect case in point of where the industry is kind of at right now. It's at a intersection or a crossroads, changing of the guards. Going from all the guys who were 30s Fords were king, and any hot rod. The hot rod shows had pre-48 limitations for when I was growing up. But now, we're getting so many calls for late model trucks, and I say late model, C10s. We won't do OBSs yet, but I'm sure we'll get there someday.
Just wait.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but we get so many calls for muscle cars that we've done a few over the years. The 65 GTO we did back 6-7 years ago, but we just wanted to show people that we can do this too. We like them, but it hasn't been our bread and butter, so to speak, as of yet. But we're going to have to start doing it at some point.
Right.
So.
And then I see it like when we do car covers, and we kind of cover everything, and patterns that were popular 30 years ago, we're selling again. Yeah, the OBS trucks and your rail tail Porsches, because people are just, it's the evolution of the industry. Things are just changing a little, and it's neat to see. And it's great. You got to be able to adapt, and you guys are building some cool stuff. And before we jump to the Willys, so how long have you guys worked together? And how do you know, like, is it he's not smiling and you're smiling, so I don't know. That's a poor subject.
He made the big mistake. I've been building cars professionally for over 25 years and was born into it, through my dad in the magazine industry. Joe, both of us have gone to college for things that have nothing to do with cars or even mechanics or anything.
And you're so happy about that.
Yeah, it's okay.
I am Joe. You can ask him.
Well, I've purged all that knowledge out of my brain to fill it with part numbers and other stupid things that I don't need.
You got a one in, one out policy.
Yeah, so I got one. Yeah, exactly. I have to purge all the biology information out of my mind.
Yeah.
But I've known Bill longer than I've worked here.
Much longer.
Yeah, we used to have kind of our hobby shops, which spawned this shop for Bill. We're right next to each other, right on the alley next to Brizio's Street Rods in South City. And that was, what, 20 years ago, probably?
Yeah.
And then Bill opened the shop professionally, and I kind of followed along. And then about 5 years ago, I decided to make the change from working in the public sector to doing something I enjoyed instead of just doing something for a paycheck. And I came to Bill for a job, and originally he was thinking, I think, that I was going to be a wrench in the garage, and I was like, I don't really want to do that because I have tons of cars myself and have always worked on cars and from my dad as well. And I decided that I didn't want to do that for a living because I wouldn't want to work on my own cars when I went home. So I said, I kind of like to be the front office guy, just manage the shop, that kind of deal. He goes, well, that'd be great because I'd like to go back in the shop and just work and not deal with billing and that kind of stuff. So that's how that relationship kind of happened.
Joe saved my enthusiasm for this craft because I was in the office just, taking care of all the day-to-day bureaucracy and not getting out into the shop, which is where I want to be. So Joe coming in, he does, if you call the shop, he's the one who's answering. If you go to a show, you're more likely talking to him than me. But he does all the parts for everybody, schedules all of the appointments, all the jobs. He's really the now the brains and the heart and soul behind keeping the shop running. And I can just go back and work as much as I can, which is fantastic for me.
Yeah. And I guess at what point did you went to college, but then you ended up at Brizio Street Rods, and with Roy and our family go way back. And then at one point you're like, hey, I just go on my own and do my own thing.
Yeah, well, so for me, Roy made it easy for me in the sense that I started working for him while I was going to college. And as I was finishing college, I was learning more and more while I was working for Roy. And I just decided at the end of it that I enjoyed working on cars, working with my hands a lot more than I enjoyed being in a college environment, So it was an easy decision for me by the end of that. The hard part was acknowledging to my parents and everyone that I just wasted tens of thousands of dollars on a college education, but they were very much in favor of it because they're, do what you love, not just something to make money.
Well, yours you still use a little because you still do some writing for magazines and freelance.
I've been able to justify it a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Mine, on the other hand, completely in the trash can.
Yeah.
Well, good, but it's like the other thing is you're having fun, and it's like you're coming to work and you're smiling, you look forward to it, and there's always headaches, and having a small business, there's always drama, but you enjoy what you do, then it makes it worthwhile coming in, and the hours and the time.
100%.
And our industry runs on weekends.
Yeah.
And our trade shows, except for SEMA, aren't like Tuesday to Thursday. No, they're Thursday to Sunday.
Yeah.
And so that's you're away from your family, you're away from your friends, and but that's how you make a living. So you have to love it because it's a grind.
Well, and also a lot of people in this industry that we've met, the places we've been, traveling for these shows, and the people we've met kind of outweigh, I think, what we give up on teaching college and the places we've been. I would have never met some of these people or been to some of these places being a high school biology teacher. So
it's incredible that the friends you make, and then you have your friends for years, and then when you're traveling the country, you link up to these people, and they're just what brought us together, old cars.
Yep.
And it's very cool.
Yeah.
And I guess the next old car is the Willys. So this is another Grand National debut, and same thing to the customer to say, hey, I want a Willys with a big motor in it. And flames?
Essentially, so no on the flames.
Okay.
So Dave Kruna, who owns the Willys, actually started building this car back in the 80s. And he's from Minnesota, and he had it at a couple of shops in Minnesota who did a little bit of the work that's still on the car. It has a full custom chromoly tube chassis on it. And he was building it more like a race car. he'll say that he was going to drive it on the streets, but I mean, this thing was like, it came to us and it was just, it's basically a race car. And brought it to us, you know, decades later really now, and said, I want to build it more of a street car and make it, you know, drivable. So we had to go backwards a little bit before we started moving forwards, taking away a little bit of the race stuff on it to make it a streetable car. But I told him immediately, I said that the fact that it has wheelie bars and a parachute is awesome, and a, you know, blower on it and everything. So we kept the race theme. We showed it at the show with the wheelie bars on it and the parachute, which are easily removable. So when we go to the Good Guys, for instance, we'll take that stuff off and make it more of a street hot rod. We're going for hot rod of the year with it. But yeah, he didn't really have a color in mind, you know, or a theme, so to speak. So as we were working on it, I just kept offering, you know, avenues that we could go with the look of the car. But putting flames on it was the big one. I don't think Dave had ever considered putting anything on the car other than just one solid color.
I remember that lunch.
Yeah, yeah. It started out as a, you know,
Lunch meeting.
a big conversation.
Mentioned it, and he just went, "Oh, maybe." Yeah, maybe.
And he's really hard to read.
Yeah.
So you know he reacts. Oh, maybe. Yeah. Yeah.
You really think so, Bill? Yeah.
You think so? Yeah. You think so? And so over the course of another year or so or more of building the car, we just kept talking about it, and Dave really trusted us with the aesthetics of the car. I mean, he trusted us with everything, but went out on a ledge, trusting us with the aesthetics, and I'm really glad he did, and I think he's really happy with the car. It just sets it apart from, you know, there's if he had done it a single color, it would have been an awesome car. It would have, you know, been a cool 33 Willys. Some people will say that putting flames on the car didn't even really distinguish it because there's a lot of hot rods with flames, but that's why we went with blue flames.
That's the blue flames really
blue.
catches your eye. Like at the show, you go, hey,
Yeah.
what's that?
Yeah.
And then it has a little kind of just. It's something a little slightly
It's
different,
unique, yeah.
and it makes you unique, and it makes you pause.
Yeah.
And that's Joanna as a builder. You want to know people pause, go, hey, what's this?
Yeah.
And then they start seeing all the details. They go, hey, we did this, we did that.
Yep.
And those are really something that Joe Campani at Campani Color really did a ton of. He even did a faux spray out on a skateboard
Yep.
to make sure he had the coloring and everything just right. And so he really.
So Joe Campani did body and paint on the car, his company, with Ryan and Chris. And this car was really hard to paint. The body is welded to the chassis, so it's the chromoly tube chassis. We redid all the floors. Donnie Welch here, fabricator, redid all the floors and a lot of the sheet metal, but it's all welded to the frame, and it has a cage in it. So to paint all of that, and we wanted the cage to be gloss black, the dashboard, everything, you know, inside the car. So he had to paint the chassis, tape everything off, paint the inside of the car, tape off the roll cage, then tape off the inside of the car, paint the roll cage, paint the dashboard separate, and then paint the exterior of the car separate. So I mean, it was a huge undertaking.
So you wanted to paint it one time.
And get it ready for the show.
And get it ready for the show.
Yeah.
And then also put the flames on it after that. So, I mean, it was a challenge. You know, a lot of what everybody does, not just us, but is making these things look like it was simple in a way, you know, but some of the things the hoops you gotta jump through to make these things happen is crazy when you go back and look at what it took to, you know, make this little simple 33 Willys. But yeah.
Well, that's a beautiful car, and so yeah, thanks for letting us showcase these two vehicles. And they're going to be traveling probably the road pretty much all spring and summer, competing for awards.
Yep.
And part of our catalog feature was like one of your newer builds is the custom, like Joe's custom stroller.
Yeah.
So now is that going to be a niche industry for you guys, or just like
I don't know.
You might get requests.
So many people have asked to build it or where did I buy it, and I just tell everybody you would not want to spend the money on your kid's stroller that I spent on this stupid stroller. But you know, again, going back to the friends we have in the industry, you know, Joe painted it for me. Danny did the upholstery. Good people and relationships I've made in this industry is really what made that thing happen, because they obviously didn't charge me full boat to paint it, you know, And then I got a hold of this crazy guy from a car cover company that actually made me a custom car cover for it too. So I've really gone, and let's be real, it's more for me than probably for the kid.
Wow, I can't believe you admitted that out
I'll
loud.
admit it, yeah.
That's what it is. At this point, no, you have to love it. And Joey, I know she's gonna be the scene stealer. That's what everyone's going to want to ask about.
Yeah.
But really, at this age, they listen, they love you.
Yeah.
And so I have like 55 Chevy twin pedal cars for my girls, but like you think they when they were younger they'd pedal around. I'm like,
Don't
Be
just-
careful.
Yeah,
and our friend like Eric raced it, they put their names on it. And it's
Yeah.
like, don't, no. I'm like, and then at some point you're like, whatever.
It's just like these cars. The first scratch is the hardest one, and then after that, you're like,
Eric's got a stroller thing that he did here. He did the windshield
Yeah.
on her car.
Yeah.
So he's
Eric Reyes did that, and he also striped the flames on this. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's Eric's
Yeah,
thing.
great guy. We go back from drag racing days with him forever. And I guess thanks so much for the time. But I know that I'm gonna get one or two questions. What's the story on your Mercedes? Bill, I said, hey, we'll move it. I said, you know what? It's cool. I like the old German cars, and then it's a conversation starter. Look, it might be the next evolution. You might be doing some
Well,
custom Mercedes and BMWs. Can you make it some 2002s in here, some other SLs? You never
Well,
know.
the whole point of me, that's my car, and the point of me buying that and sort of building it for myself is that it's not what we do every day. It's just something different. I've always kind of been of the mind that if it's got four wheels, it can be cool. I'm not just focused on, one type of car or one style. But yeah, no, it's a cheap car that is. I saw one at the Good Guys show that was just slammed like that, and it goes to show you what Stanton's wheel and tire combo can do for a car. I never looked twice at those cars. Never. Don't care about them. SLs, they're whatever. But I saw one lowered and slammed, and I immediately was like, oh wow, that thing looks totally different.
Right.
It takes on a whole new character, a whole new look. So that was my goal after seeing that, was to put an air ride in one and just slam it. And I think it came with the wire wheels on it, which was an accessory you could get, from Mercedes, and with pinstripe white walls. It's got a foot in custom car lowrider kind of land, but it's a Mercedes. So.
Yeah. Well, maybe Grand National like 26, 27.
Yeah,
we'll see,
yeah,
right? We'll see if it gets out there.
My cars
Get in the
don't
booth.
typically end up as nice as our customer cars, so we'll see. Yeah.
Well, you're doing beautiful work, and I appreciate the time. And it's a Monday here, so I appreciate having your team here, just kind of pausing for a couple hours. We can come.
Yeah, we'll bill you in the mail for the compensation for the time.
Joe said he was covering it, so he's
Joe,
you
good
take
man,
care of it for
good
me.
man.
Yeah.
fired again. Huh?
But so thank you so much. I appreciate it. And this could be in our May catalog, and you'll see more of these vehicles online. So Tony DeFrank, California Car Cover, thanks for the time, and see you next time around.
Thanks.